Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Colden Company's presentation, Introduction to Power BI. So as we said in our invitation, this presentation is going to be not for those that are really entrenched and already using Power BI. This is really going to be a high-level overview of what Power BI is and how it can help your business. So all attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A inside of WebEx, and we'll get to your questions at the end of the presentation. My name is Jim Lapointe, and I appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy day to join us. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, a little bit about Colden Company. If you're not familiar with us, we're an information technology service organization. We're computer guys and gals. We've been in business since 2003. We have offices in St. Augustine, Florida, which is where I'm talking to you from today, as well as Ballston Spa, New York, which is in upstate New York. Our customer footprint extends into 15 different states as well as outside of the United States. We have many leading technical certifications. What's pertinent for today's presentation is we are a Microsoft Cloud partner. We do have a silver competency for small and mid-size business for delivering cloud solutions, which Power BI service is one of those services. Okay, so our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about what is Power BI, who is Power BI for, why choose Power BI and why use Power BI. And then we're actually going to break from PowerPoint and we're going to do a little bit of an overview of the product by actually going into it and seeing some of its capabilities. And as always, we'll finish up with some question and answer. Okay, so what is Power BI? Well, the BI stands for Business Intelligence. So Power BI is a business analytics service from Microsoft. Its aim is to provide interactive visualizations of data and business intelligence capabilities. So from the graphic that you see on the screen here, the idea behind Power BI is you take data from different data sources. You could be pulling in data from a SQL database. You could be pulling in data from Salesforce, as an example, from any type of a web form, Access, an Excel spreadsheet. You're pulling all of that data into Power BI and being able to manipulate that data inside of Power BI. So that's kind of the beauty of Power BI is instead of running your analytics on your Excel spreadsheet and then running a different set of analytics on your SQL database where those two things don't tie together, you can tie those things together with Power BI. So you can pull in that data from multiple sources and tie them together. And then the output from Power BI are dashboards. So as you can see from the screen here, here's a dashboard. It's a little bit hard to read here, but they're talking about sales. You can create different dashboards with different graphics on them for different people in your organization. So I'm going to open up a poll question here. And the poll question is your organization using Power BI today? So go ahead and answer that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to flip to our next slide here. Okay, looking at the results here, it looks like most folks are not using Power BI today. So I'll go ahead and close that poll. Okay, so Power BI has two main components. There's the Power BI desktop. That is really the component that is for your number crunchers and your data crunchers. These are the people that are manipulating the data, creating the charts and graphs that your company wants to see. The Power BI desktop is available for free at powerbi.microsoft.com. So we'll show the desktop a little bit later, but this is where you're going to be doing the bulk of your data manipulation, attaching to your data sources, and doing the heavy lifting of the value that the Power BI can bring. The second component is the Power BI service. So this is a web-based service, and that is really meant more for the people, I guess, reviewing the data and analyzing the data. The first one is for the people creating the data. manipulating the data. The last one is for the analysis of the data, really for your sales folks, for your executives, managers, that type of thing. So technically, if you have an Office 365 subscription, you can use Power BI for free. However, you cannot publish reports to other people throughout the organization. You can't share your reports. You can't have people subscribe to your reports. If you want to do that, you have to have a Power BI Pro license, which goes for $10 a month per user. But that's really the value. That's really where you're going to get your bang for your buck out of Power BI, is if your data crunchers are creating those reports, making them available to the people in your organization that can use that to make decisions. So even at that price, it's still pretty well priced compared to some of the competition. Okay, so why would you want to use Power BI? Well, if we're talking about why use Power BI as compared to other products in that space, this chart should tell you everything you need to know. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what this is the Gartner Magic Quadrant. Gartner is an organization that evaluates products, in particular business lines, and basically divides them up. And where you want to be as a company is in their upper right quadrant there, which is the leaders. So in this graph here, they're showing the ability to execute, completeness of vision are the two axes. I did that as Y and X respectively. And you can see that Microsoft is pretty far ahead of the competition in both areas here. So Gartner is touting Microsoft's business intelligence platform really as being head and shoulders above the competition. Tableau is the next one there. They're probably the main competition. Tableau can get pricey as well, but it's certainly a reputable product as well. But Power BI from Microsoft really is the leader in the business intelligence and analytics platform space. All right, more on why I use Power BI. So the ability to visualize data and instead of looking at thousands of cells in a spreadsheet and trying to pick out the anomalies and things like that, it's always easier to spot trends using visualization. You can have personalized dashboards, as we mentioned, so you can have a dashboard for the president of your company, another dashboard for the CFO perhaps, another one for your sales manager. You can have those different dashboards sending different information to different people depending on what their needs are. You have custom alerting. So if you're the data cruncher, you're creating a new report, you've got some new data. When you upload that or upload that to the Power BI service, there's custom alerting available, so it will email your executives to say, hey, there's new data out there, go ahead and look at it. It has the ability to do natural language querying, and this is for those executives. They don't know how to write SQL queries. They don't know, they don't have to know that, which is the beauty of Power BI. So we'll show that in the Power BI service where you can look at a chart and do a natural language query, and Power BI interprets that into a properly written machine language query. Scalability is another thing with Power BI. Because this is going on Microsoft's cloud here, it's really no limit to how far you can scale up. If you want to scale up from 2 users to 2,000 users, you can do that in an instant. Microsoft's backend can handle that. You don't have to worry about, on your own side, scaling up your own infrastructure if your business is growing quickly. Microsoft gives you that scalability because it's part of their cloud. And of course, you have the ability to import things from Excel. So that's my next question here, my next poll question that I'm going to open up here. Have you been a user of Power Pivot in Excel? So let me know your responses there. If you have used pivot tables and Power Pivot in Excel, you're going to love Power BI. Now, there are some things that you can't do in Power BI that you can do in Excel. There are still a few things. But there's also some things in Power BI that you can't do with Excel and Power Pivot. Generally, you're going to have to kind of play with Power BI to see the power of it, but it really is a very powerful tool. Power BI has some very nice integrations with other Microsoft products, which also makes it easy. It gives you an advantage over something like Tableau. So if you're pulling in data from other Microsoft products, Microsoft Exchange or Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Access, it tends to be easier because these are all Microsoft products. So if you want to integrate with some third-party tools like Salesforce, you can do that. We showed on the first screen there that you can pull data in from Salesforce. The way that works is you would have to supply your credentials, your login and password information to Salesforce to make sure you have permission to access the data. So if you have a report that you've built in Salesforce, you're going to have to supply your username and password in order to view that report data. Okay, so a last point here on Power BI and why this might be important. As we all know, it's kind of a crazy time in the world with COVID-19, coronavirus out there. It's tough on businesses. Businesses are struggling right now. The businesses that are going to be successful are those that are data-driven. Data-driven organizations are going to have an advantage going forward in the future. That's what Power BI does. If you can respond quickly to changing trends in your industry, changing trends that you're seeing, being able to see, hey, my sales are dropping way off here. I might need to scale back on staff, or maybe I need to ramp up my sales effort. If you're waiting to see that data till the end of the month or the end of the quarter, some of your competition might be using tools like Power BI, being more data-driven and being able to react to things more quickly. So I really feel like Power BI is going to be a tool that can give businesses an advantage going forward, particularly in a difficult climate. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a break from PowerPoint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the Power BI desktop. We're going to show you how to connect to different data sources, use the transforming data tool inside of Power BI, and finally publish our existing reports to the Power BI web service. Okay, so bear with me here. I'm going to break out of the PowerPoint here, and I'm going to pull up Power BI. So I've done that here. The first step is to use Get Data here, and I'm going to pull in some data from somewhere. There we go. So I'm going to pull data in from an Excel sheet here. And it's going to say, all right, well, what spreadsheet do you want? I've created a spreadsheet here. I'm going to go ahead and open this up here. Takes a minute. Pulling it into Power BI. Now I've got a couple different tables here. I'm going to choose this top one. And as you can see here, this is a list of cities in the United States with their corresponding populations. It is right now sorted alphabetically. And we're going to go ahead and choose to transform this data here. All right, so it's pulling this into the Power Query Editor inside of Power BI. And you can see here's my spreadsheet. Looks just like my Excel spreadsheet. Well, there's different things that I can do in here if I'm looking at working with this data, creating the data the way I want. Let's say I want to sort it by population. Of course, everyone knows how to do this in Excel. I'm going to sort this in descending order. You can see New York City happens to be the largest city in the United States here, population about 18 million. And over here in Applied Steps, it also is keeping track of the things that you're doing. So if you've made a change and you say, whoops, I really didn't mean to do that, we can either hit X, it brings us back to sorted by alphabetically as we had before. So we're basically undoing the change that we did. Or I can say, maybe I did this sorting ascending and I didn't really mean to do that as well. I can kind of go back to my original spreadsheet here and say, all right, now I want to sort this in descending order. So it gives you a nice history and the ability to go back and forward, for that matter. I can go back to sorting alphabetically. I can go back here, sorted by population. So it gives you that ability to instantly flip back and forth of how you want to see your data. But in this case, that's all I really want to do, is I wanted to sort it by population. So I'm going to do close and apply here. And it's applying those changes to my query and creating this data model here. Okay. Now, what you may not have noticed here is now all of a sudden, over on the side here, we have some tables available to us to graph and chart here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the state here. And Power BI is creating a little chart for me. And you can see it was smart enough to say, this looks like geography. I'm going to create a map. So it's gone ahead and charted this as a map because it recognized that, this is states. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the population table as well here. Now you'll see what it's done is it's gone ahead and changed the sizes of our little circles here and adjusted that based on population. So you can see New York, California, Florida, these states that have high populations, their circles are bigger. So it's created that graph and done that all automatically inside of Power BI. Pretty neat. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. Let's say I want to show that. I want our guys to see population by state. But I want to create another graphic here. So I'm going to go to Insert, a New Visual, and it's going to create a blank chart for us. Now it's up to me to decide what do I want this chart to really do. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on population. It's going to give us the entire population of the United States. You can tell this is an old census, only 200 million. I think we're over 300 million now. Then I'm going to click on city. Boom. Now what it's doing, it's taking all of that data in my chart, in my Excel spreadsheet here, and it's graphing all of that out, with New York being the most populated city here. Now looking at this data, I'm looking at this and saying, St. Cloud, Minnesota, with a population of 8 million, that doesn't look right to me. I think that's a mistake. So I want to fix that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up my spreadsheet here. I'm going to do that on another screen here. And I'll pull it into our presentation here. So here's my original spreadsheet. And you can see St. Cloud, Minnesota, 8 million. Well, that's not right. What I really meant was 82,000. So I'm going to go ahead and save that data. Now when I come back to Power BI here, I'm going to go ahead and do a refresh. It's going out and connecting to my spreadsheet, my data source, and you'll notice that it moved St. Cloud. I don't know where it went, but it went out of here, somewhere towards the back end here, and properly positioned it here. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to filter this out. We've got a lot of data here. We're going to take advantage of some of the filters here. So we're going to say, all right, I want to use the population here, and I want to say only show me populations greater than 2 million. I'll go ahead and apply that. And you can see immediately that's changing my graph here. And it's only showing the cities with population over 2 million. Now we can add other filters. Let's say we've got city and population here that we've selected, but let's say we want to do state. So I can take state, grab it into here, say I want to see just the cities in California, or maybe want to do Florida. I'm in Florida. Let's do Florida instead. There we go. So there's only 2 cities in Florida with populations over 2 million. If I want to see Florida and California, I can do that as well. Okay, so note how the chart adjusts for us. Now, if you want to get rid of a particular filter, there's a nice X there. It's pretty self-explanatory to get rid of your filters here, clear filter. There we go. Okay. Now, this data is the way I want it right now, so I'm going to go ahead and publish this as an example. So I'm going to come over here and do File, Publish. Publish to Power BI. I'm going to save this. I've already done this in practice here, so I'm going to replace my population Power BI sheet here, and I'm going to publish it to my workspace. And I've already got that there because I've done it before, so I will go ahead and replace it. And what it's doing now, it's taking the report that I've built in the Power BI desktop, and it's moving that up into the Power BI service. So now I'm going to open this in the Power BI service here. So you'll notice my web browser is immediately opening. And it's going to prompt me for my credentials here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And now I'm logged into the Power BI service. I'm going to go to my workspace. I guess my workspace is what I wanted. And you can see the graphs that we built in the Power BI desktop are now available to me here. So I could have published this as an example for one of my executives to look at here. So up in the top here, there's options for sharing and subscribing. So the subscribe is for someone who wants to see updates. So if you're the number cruncher and you're updating this data periodically and pushing it up to Power BI, which by the way you can do on a regular basis, your executive can get an email saying, hey, I'm subscribed to this report. Let me know when it changes and updates. You can share this report. As we mentioned in the beginning, you have to share that with other people that have Power BI subscriptions. Okay? All right, so the next thing I want to show is the natural language query here. So I'm going to go in here and edit. And here, this ask a question. So I'll go ahead and choose ask a question here. And it's ask a question about your data. So I'm going to type something in here. As an executive who does not know SQL querying, show me cities with population over 1 million. And of course, I did not spell that correctly. Now, it actually did that down below here. What I'm going to do is kind of reorganize these graphs a little bit just to let us see this a little bit better. There we go. So it took that natural language query, and you can see it said, aha, you're looking for cities, population over 1 million. I can do something with that. And it created me a nice list of all those cities with population over 1 million. Very handy. Show me cities in Florida. Boom. Here's all the cities on our list that are in the state of Florida. So it allows your executives the ability to look at your data in the way that they want to see it. So they can ask questions of your data using natural language, and it's smart enough to figure out what it is they're looking for. very, very powerful tool here. If there's a particular graph that you want them to highlight, like I really want them to see the cities in Florida, I can come in here and spotlight it. So it kind of grays everything out behind it. You can make your dashboards look very nice. You can add text box. I'm just going to do this real quickly here. Colden Company, but you can format it and probably want to have that in the upper left and put your logo in there and make your dashboards specific for your company and make them look real nice and shiny. So that's just a quick overview of some of the power of Power BI. At this point, what I'm going to do is go back to our PowerPoint presentation here and finish that up here. Yes. All right, so let's do that. There we go. So in summary, Power BI is a great data analytics tool, rated highest by Gartner in their Magic Quadrant. Its updating capabilities allow for decisions to be made with current data and refreshed on a regular basis. Data-driven organizations are going to be the ones that are most successful going forward. This quote you've seen pretty much at the end of all of our seminars, our webinars. If you are running your business the same way you were 2 or 3 years ago, you're not staying the same, you're falling behind. We really believe that because your competition is not staying the same. So let's go ahead and open it up for questions at this point. I do see a couple have come in here. Before I do that, I'm going to put my information on the screen here. There's our phone number, my email address. If you have questions on Power BI, we do have an arrangement with one of our vendors to provide Power BI training. If anyone is interested in that, we can set you up with some good Power BI training so you can start using this tool and helping move your organization towards being a data-driven organization. Okay, first question here. Can I share data within the desktop app only? Yes, that's a good question. I assume we're asking that because the desktop is free. What you could do is you would save the Power BI sheets somewhere on a shared server, and then someone else with the Power BI desktop could actually open that up and manipulate that data as well. So yes, you would save the Power BI workbook somewhere in a shared area where multiple people can use it. Can I use multiple data sources at the same time? And yes, so that was one of the, I guess on one of the first slides there. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of Power BI. So you can pull in data from Salesforce and pull in data from a SQL-based system. If your ERP system is SQL-based, you can pull those things in there and write reports based on the combined data of the two systems. So you do have to have some type of mapping between the two to know, what the relationship is between the two data sources. So it's not necessarily trivial, but absolutely that's the power of Power BI. You can pull in data from 3 or 4 different sources, different spreadsheets, and then write reports and analytics that pulls data from all those different things into one report. So very, very powerful tool. I guess that's where the power in Power BI comes from. Okay, that was the only questions that popped in here. So we thank everybody for joining us here today. We hope everyone has a great day. If you're interested in doing more with Power BI, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to assist. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.